So, welcome to a new episode. This is part 2 regarding the lighting. I did one previously where I just showed different pictures and talked you through about colors and stuff, and part 2 was broken, so started from scratch. So this scene is taken from Asset Store, called Fantasy something called cost $20. So here you see the scene as it is originally, and I'm going to show you more or less how to approach it differently in terms of making it look like this. So it's quite different. This to this has a very different sense of feeling, different lighting, different mood. Okay, look at this one. Very strong shadow, even though it's full moon. There's fog, there's dark sky, and there's overblown lighting here. This one is blue, but it doesn't have the same lighting as this one, and so on and so forth. Here you go. Bit more primary source to the left with the crystals, secondary source being the moon, even though normally you might have wanted to be primary. You have I added some cubes with some glow to simulate that these are some additional light sources, flies flying around here. Again, let's take the ruin, which is the original. This is how it looks. Let it build the light. Okay, so this is what comes with the game. Perfectly fine to, the average eyes. You might be happy with it. Personally, I wasn't. So tweaked it. There you see the lights. And I changed it to differently. So I'm going to show you from the why I did things and how to do things on the original one. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna save as, scene as, and we're gonna change it to edited 03 tutorial. Okay, so there it is. This is the original one, and I'm hoping that within the 50 minutes time I'm gonna try it very quickly, just show the general idea of how I would approach to tweak this scene to make sense to me, both artistically and also in terms of lighting. Okay, it's building the light. It's completely fine. Let it build the light. So for me, I can see the fog, as I've talked about in part 1. The skybug is quite important. What makes sense? Now, obviously, it's common sense. You would think, okay, there's a moonlight. Let's make very, very dark shadows. But keep in mind that there is fog here. You can see the fog behind. You can see this fog is on here, so I left it on. You can also see that, in fact, you have quite dark shadow, and everything else is quite light, despite it not being even midday or afternoon. It's night, probably midnight, very dark skies. So for me it didn't make sense. So what did I do? Well, the first thing I did, I went to the directional light and I went, it doesn't make sense to have that bright. Yes, I understand there's a full moon, but there is a fog. There is clouds, and I wanted to change the focus to this view to be the primary. So what I did was I reduced the light to 0.5. This ensures that the shadows and the general overall lighting in the whole scene, the whole level, matches a bit more. So the contrast is less on this particular case from the moon. Then I thought about the color, and looking at the original one, I found that it was very monotone for a fantasy setting anyway, so I changed the color to be a bit more towards purplish blue. It helps to give that variety, that style. It's a fantasy setting. Want to have it's colorful. So I wanted to make sure that let's make sure that the moonlight is more towards the purple blue, which is very common, as well as navy blue. Again, the original, very green, you know, very green, very blue. And now we're gonna tweak it. Okay, so you see, okay, it's becoming, okay, a little bit interesting. You have some different tones popping up everywhere. What else? I'm gonna change it to real time. This allows me to control the shadow, this one, a bit more. And I'm gonna tone it down to maybe 0.4. As I said, I don't want the moon to be the primary light. Yes, I understand that to many people that will make sense, but as I said, the closest light source is in fact this crystal that I want to be able to glow. So you see this very strong light. You see it's much stronger now than the moonlight, which is the point. Yes, I am aware that there are no shadows on the ground. Don't worry about it. Now I will change the ambient source, which is color based, to use the GI mode. And I would change it to real time. And now we wanna make sure that we get some color from the sky itself. Okay, starting to be a little better. Let's go back to the color skybox. So, because we want the blue color, but we don't want it to be from the directional light. We want it to be the sky is the ambient source. We want that to be giving the blue color. We don't want the blue color for coming from the moon, because we need that to create a more colorful shadow whenever that decides to pop up. And for some reason it doesn't want to, but that's not a problem. Directional. Okay, so we want it enough to see the shadow right here, so you know there's a light source. You know you can see the shadow. It goes into the darkness of this particular scene. Second, you want to make sure that this one, although it's a perfectly fine color, I prefer matching it with the light source. So I would color pick and make sure it actually matches it. And then I would have a look at this one. I will do the same here. I want to color pick it, and I want to do the same over here. I want to color pick it to strong colors to create color contrast. And again, I want to color pick it, but I want it to be yellow. I want to purposely go down to the green. And then there are some light mushroom. Now the light mushrooms, I'm not changing the colors on them, but let's build the light. Now again it's changing a little bit. So quick explanation. What's going on here? Well, we're making sure that the directional light from the moon is giving some kind of color on the surfaces on the objects, and we want it to be a bit blue purple. We're making sure that the lighting is from the skybox, so it gives blue color on the floor, on the ground, in the shadows, so the shadows are totally black. And I'm making sure the point lines kind of make sense to match the light sources. So for this light source, have a look. Looks fine. Seems to be a bit buggy. Okay, reset. Still buggy. Baked. This one I'm gonna turn to baked, and I'm gonna have soft shadow on it, and I'm gonna take 2 on baked shadow radius. What baked shadow radius does is it softens the shadow, so it doesn't become totally sharp, because theoretically light should be giving a sharp shadow, but in reality, in nature, it doesn't. So that's why I tend to use baked shadow in some cases. And then you want to adjust the ambience a little bit down to 0.3, because I want this to be the darkest one, but I want it to be not as dark as the shadow from the object, because I want you to see that there is actually a light around. I want the dominant light to be the crystal, and I'm going to change the soft shadow to 3. I want you to pay attention over here. It's 0.5. This is just to speed up the light rendering a little bit. It will reduce the quality though. Again, the original. Let's just wait for the building. That's why I don't do live tutorials on lighting, because there's a lot of waiting to do. So you're starting to see some differences. You're just seeing the purple lights being a bit more obvious. Here you see kind of bluish, whitish, bluish, greenish. Here you're seeing a bit more purplish. Here you're seeing a bit more purple. It's a bit contrast. You might want to decide to make it stronger. Here you see that it's not as sharp anymore, the shadows, but there's still shadow, and it's still stronger than the shadow from the moon, because that's the main light. The same goes for the point lights. You might decide that it's a bit too strong. For instance, this one is kind of overblown in color, oversaturated, so you might try 1. This one you might try 2. For this one you might try 2. If this has 10, you might actually go all the way down to make it a bit more dimmer, 5 even. This one maybe 0.5, you don't want it to be too obvious. This one at 1, maybe make it a bit dimmer color. This one at 0.6, maybe make it 0.4. Okay. it's a bit different than the original I did before the video, obviously, because I did a couple of other things as well. So it's less dim, looks okay. I think this one is still quite overblown, so I'm gonna keep pushing it down all the way to 2. The reason I'm blowing it down is, one, I'm not gonna do the firefly things, but the idea is to have some logic also with the sources and the lighting. So there's no light source, it's not glowing, so it's, I understand the point is to highlight the mushroom, but I'm not gonna do it. Now this one a bit stronger because it has more congested. That makes sense. So a bit dimmer makes more sense to me anyway. Here as well, it's not taking too much of the tension because we want to have a bit of framing going on. Now this one, I think I might even try a 4. Again, we're trying to make sure that this one is the primary light. So when I say primary light, you'll see that this one is not the strongest intensity, and that's kind of what it means, that this one is the strongest intensity, because I want this one to be the primary light. So I made it a bit stronger. This will also make sure that the shadows from the moon is even less subtle where on the sides, making sure that the soft shadow from the crystal are the strongest, but they aren't necessarily conflicting too much. The same goes with the shadow over here. It's kind of clear that the primary strongest light source is the crystal, it is not the moon. Now you have a nice contrast over here. Now, assuming I was going to show you how to do the fireflies, so you have some light source, I would have them flying around, and I would start, placing them towards the crystals to have some narrative, like they are working and farming and working their way to the light source. And the same goes for this one. I would have them kind of work their way over there, and the green one I would have, for example, go out towards here, and the purple one I would have go towards the screen somewhere. Okay. While I'm doing that, there's something I didn't do in my original example, so I actually don't know what's gonna happen, but that is getting some reflection probes up and going. I'm not gonna edit it. I can see that the scene is quite small compared to Unity scale, but in that case I will move it down like so, and I will try and adjust it to 222. This is very quickly, so there are things to keep in mind in terms of optimization when it comes to this, but because I didn't actually try it in the other one, I'm gonna do it now. I'm gonna just spread it quickly. That's gonna be perfect, but I wanna get a general feel of how it might be. Normally I wouldn't place it like this, mind you. generally you want to play it, make it bigger probably, and kind of place it more, well, better than what I'm doing. You probably don't want to have that many because it will increase the build time, but I don't care. Okay, so we're getting some purple effect here. That's supposed to be fireflies, so you can actually see the light source. Same goes here. Some yellow, again. You see some green. There's some effects here and there. So again, original, our version, original, our version. There's a more subtle. Now, saying let's assume we're finished. Technically, I wouldn't be finished this quickly, but assuming we are, you want to go to the camera. Want to do some simple stuff like anti-analyzing. Want to do some occlusion. I'm not going to explain what they are. I will show you though. If you look, please look here. Without anti-aliasing, you will see that it kind of likes to sharp and there's something odd with it. This one will fix the edges, so it blurs out. Same if you look at this. And the screen but space occlusion, you can actually see quite obvious what it does, but this one is a bit much, so just turn it down like this. So it will create the crease shadow that is normally in the objects. Technically it's a bit too much. I would probably turn it down even more. Like so. It's fine. You might want to do, we want to have bloom. Because you want to have the crystals kind of make some noise, kind of be obvious. The moon's going to be bloom too, so I want to increase it without. The reason I'm using bloom is obviously because there's certain things you cannot do with light alone, and this is part of lighting, is to figure out, okay, I want it to be more shiny as primary source, so you can use this one like this and kind of make it more. So without it, it doesn't look as strong. Okay. Again, you can tweak it as you see fit. These are not image effects, by the way. You could use contrast stretch as well if you wanted to kind of adjust the contrast even more. This will make things a bit darker, and you will see it kind of makes maybe too dark in some cases. Okay. It really depends what you want. You could use tone mapping to even adjust more. Turn on SDR. I'm not actually tweaking at the moment, I'm just showing other ways to fix the final touch of your game. And color correction. To do some color correction if you want a stronger, or maybe you want a more dimmer style, then you would have to tweak some more everywhere else. And So some of these things are kind of bugged, so you want to turn it on and off to get them working properly. They're kind of hard to make work. So that's one way of doing things. So that's just a general idea of how you can work with lighting quite quickly. Again, original, another version that we just did. The version I did before is this. And if I wanted to stylize it more, I could turn on color correction, and I will emphasize the colors that I originally envisioned in a more like dark fantasy game. So I hope that was useful. Leave some comments, questions, and let me know. Again, this is one example again, and original. I don't know which one you find more intriguing, but do leave a comment if you do find my version more interesting. Thank you.